Hi again. Welcome back to episode 2 of the case build for my zip drive, which is going to go with this 130XE. Anyways, without further ado, on with the show. And this is one thing I don't like is I have to go at such a high speed on the Dremel that the plastic melts and I end up with these little globs I have to scrape off after, which is, as you can see, a flaming nuisance. Not the regular kind of nuisance either. I'm going to have to do a lot of sanding when I get this out because that ain't even close to square. And yet again, more freaky melted plastic. I'm going to have to replace that bit soon too, no doubt. Should be hold on. Okay. Now it comes to the fiddling detail work. No doubt this will be too small, and I'll have to gradually work on it till it gets to just the right size. Now, I could have 3D printed a case, and I do have one, which is a spoiler alert, because I don't much care about spoilers, so I'll tell you in advance, but I haven't set it up yet. And it's an Ender 3 version 3 SE or something like that. Sounds like a car model. But anyways, I think I'll take a small sanding drum bit out. No, I don't want to do it that way because I like having all my fingers. I don't want to be bandaging my fingers late at night, because that would suck. A deck clogged or a lock clogged with cruft. That's a bit big. I think I'll have a brief go with this to get that ground down a bit so I can get this switch in there. And it's better to, yes, still a ways to go. Do a little bit more of this. Okay. Get a bit of the frizz out of there. Yeah. Switch this out for a smaller bit. Which is right here. A small metal type. And I may have a little bit wide on this side, so I have to be super careful. Like right where my fingers are, that side may be a bit wide, but the edge of the front face of the switch still covers the opening, so as I said, I always stop the drill before I even put it down, or the Dremel, I should say. Oh, technically it's a drill. Nice. Still have a bit extra to take there on the bottom side, so back to it. I think I've got a bit wider than I need on this side, but hopefully the lip on this switch will yeah, I think that is just about it. I'll do one tiny little bit on the top of the bottom maybe the bottom just a bit, and this corner here. Yeah, that's pretty much gonna, I think, cover it. So I'm not going to snap it into place yet because I want to make sure I get it oriented right. And as you can see there, it's kind of rough right there, but on this edge here, I'll probably sand that out with a little bit of one of these while the camera's not on, so you don't have to sit through that, and maybe some bit of acetone just to smooth it a bit. But anyways, I'll bring you back in just a second when I'm on the next step. Okay. Going to try a couple things, like getting the drive lined up in the case for the mounting posts, which will be in the bottom. But first, I'm going to get the little notch in the back to run the cable through. And that, for the moment, will be the easy part. In fact, these other little bits right here, like the regulator and heat sink, will go in later. So let me see, measure this here. .5 centimeters. Yeah, so centimeters. Okay. So let me see here. Here's my big old marker. And let's see, 5 out of 11 centimeters. So that leaves 3 centimeters on either side. So see here. Yeah. Okay. think just that tab where the just this tall tab where the top of the lid goes. Like, should be enough, I think. I don't know. Actually, no, I'll have to, yeah. I'll have to go a bit below that so the cable can pass through. Because I don't want to cut a hole in this too. Wow. So, got out my Dremel again, which is actually a Sears version, which I got in the 90s, which works just fine. You know what I'll do? I will I will actually measure let me see, yeah, I'll grab my little square here to I have to take out this power socket so I can line up my square properly. Ah, geez, yeah. Should have had the pliers for that, but it's done now, so yeah, I'll just leave that there for the moment. I know it's kind of hard for you to see with this camera angle, but okay, so and I'm off again. Well, not quite perfect. There's a little extra mark there where I overdid it. But this is on the back, so this is on the back of the case, I should say. Front's going to be there. There'll be an opening there for the zip drive. Of course, the back gets its openings for the power switch and power jack, and of course the ribbon cable. One thing that's on my mind, which worries me a bit, is that with this ribbon cable, and I may actually, I've got an extension for it, which I may have to use to reach the back of the computer, because this has got to go inside the computer as well to reach, let me show you here, whereas the back of the computer's along here. It'll have to reach all the way inside the computer up to there. So I've got an extension cable, or actually a few of them. I use one of these if I need it. But the one thing that worries me about it, what about that is the, I should say, the potential for RF noise, which I may put some of that shielding paint in here, spray that in here after the openings are all cut. Of course, I'll have to mask it off so it doesn't go on the outside. I'll do some gray paint on the outside as well. That'll do for sure. Actually, yeah, that is, let me see, I will, yeah, that is close enough for my purposes. And this little imperfection on the back there, where I cut a bit too deep with the Dremel, to 2 centimeters. So yeah, 2.4 centimeters. So drive height is 2.4 centimeters. And let's see. Actually, what I might do is measure this on the outside, so I can at least mark these spots to drill on the outside for these posts to go through, so I can, yeah, make sure that they're all in the right position, because if they're not in the perfect position on the case, of course these aren't going to line up when I put the screws through it, and that means the screws wouldn't fit into the drive once they go through the case. So yeah, kind of annoying that the electronics is turning out to be so much like carpentry. What I'll do is I'll get the outside .9 centimeters. Yeah, that's just so I can get all four of the set of 4 holes so I can square it up with the front. So again, just so it looks right when it's all together, because I don't want to get it off and either have it looking like junk or having to get a new case and redo all this crap again. Let's see. I might as well measure the outer 10.14 centimeters. Dry. So what I'm going to do is put you on pause while I get the rest of this figured out, because this part's getting kind of boring, so I'll see you back in a second. Okay, making a bit of progress here. I'm marking off. This line here is where the back, I measured from the front of the case to the back of the screw, the front row of screws. So the back of the screw, like here, the back of the screw right there, will line up with that line. You can see there. That's kind of hard to see, but yeah. So the drive will be mounted on these lines, and I just have to orient the case this way, like horizontally, on the case, so I can make the other set of lines here. So let's see. Actually, I'll turn this on, and the case width, which I forgot to measure, is 101.3. 101 point. Okay, so now I gotta measure, of course. Let's see, today. Yeah. 149.1. So let's see, 149 point. Ah, 149 point nothing. Okay, so those two measurements just let me center it horizontally, so I can line up the case with the center, or at least center the drive into the with the front of the case. And these markings here, I've already subtracted the thickness of the front wall of the case so that the drive will be matched up with the front of the case like this and not be set back a few millimeters in. But it should be fairly close with the edge of the case like that when it's inside. So anyways, just gonna mark these off. Oh, let's see. Yeah, back in a second. .7. So I'm gonna go 23.85 millimeters in from each side. And that's going to be a bit difficult because these calipers I got, if you noticed, it just has one decimal place, and I got to measure 0.85. 0.85. So I'm going to be Yeah, I'm going to be eyeballing this a bit more than I want to. So when orienting this right and left, that is going to leave me 1/2 millimeter. It's going to leave a 1/2 millimeter of margin of error, which is something I don't like doing. I know you're going to have trouble seeing this from your camera angle there, but it's just the way my setup is. It can't be helped, because I've got this overhead magnifying lens and lamp there, and because I'm in an apartment doing this stuff, I can't really, at least the way my setup is now, this being a regular table, I don't have any way of mounting an overhead camera, so this is the best I can do for now. Sometime I should try to come up with something where I can mount it, or have some better kind of camera tripod or mount or something. So yeah. So anyways, again, these lines here, the distance from the front to the back of the first screw and to the back of the second screw. So anyways, the screw will be mounted right on the front edge of that line there, and this line here. So the next step will be getting these 4 screw holes lined up, and then I can mark on the inside of the, I'll have to put the drive on the inside of the case and try to mark off where to start the opening, and that'll be the nail biter part. So anyways, I'll get that set up and then bring you back in a second again.